reacting to his YT story. And the first one is the wallpaper was thin.
I was showering in my 2-foot-wide bathroom when I heard my landlord say, "And through here is the bathroom." I froze under the running water because that voice was right outside my door. My stupid landlord was showing my place to renters without telling me. I panicked and my elbows smacked both walls, but the wall was so thin it flexed where I hit it. The doorknob started rattling and the landlord told them, "The rent here is super affordable." He was clearly lying, but I knew if that door opened, all those strangers would get flashed by my exquisite body. So I threw my shoulder against the door to hold it shut, but there was no room to brace and shampoo was burning my eyes. I grabbed for my towel, but my arm couldn't bend in that tiny bathroom, so I knocked it straight into the toilet. This place sucks. I wondered what kind of landlord gives tours while his tenant showers, but then the whole door thudded like he'd put his shoulder into it. He told the renters, "Don't worry, it'll open up. It just sticks sometimes." My legs started shaking, so I dove for the tiny window, but I got wedged halfway with my legs kicking behind me as the door started to open. I kicked off the toilet to rip myself free, and instead my whole body went through that flexing wall and took it with me. I crashed into the living room wrapped in the shower curtain and landed at the landlord's feet. I laid there in dead silence while 6 strangers stared at me, their eyes bouncing between me and the hole in the wall. I pulled the curtain tighter over my exquisite body. "Hey there, nice to meet you." The landlord cleared his throat. "Anyway, the rent here is $5,000. Super affordable, like I told you." I was showering in my I was 3 hours into streaming Fortnite to 0 viewers when a notification popped up. Shadow Watcher donated $1,000. My heart skipped a beat because it was the first donation I had ever gotten. "Whoa, thank you, Shadow Watcher." Then I read the message out loud. "Look out your window." I laughed and looked toward the window. "Nice try, buddy, but there's nothing out here." I kept playing because I had no idea how bad this was about to get. Another message from Shadow Watcher popped up. "Nice room. I love your Death Note poster." I froze because that poster wasn't in view of the camera. "How do you know I have a Death Note poster?" I lost the match because a bot crept up behind me while I was distracted and got the kill. Then another message came through. "Don't worry about it. Is that your blue car in the driveway?" My hands went cold, and I couldn't even bring myself to hit play again. Okay, this isn't funny. Who is this? That's when I heard 3 knocks on my window. Slow and deliberate. I clenched my jaw so tight my teeth squeaked as I slowly turned toward the sound. I forced myself to look out the window and saw my best friend Bobby standing outside laughing, still holding his phone. My flabbers were gasted. I threw the window open to let him in. "You've been out there this whole time?" He dangled halfway through the window, one leg still hanging outside. "You should have seen your face when I said the poster thing." I grabbed him by the collar and hauled him the rest of the way in. Still laughing, he held up his phone. "I made a second account just to mess with you." I sat back down, half furious, half impressed, forgetting the stream was still running behind me. "I'm keeping the $1,000. I was 3 hours. I gave my girlfriend Paige her birthday present, hoping it would close the distance that had grown between us for months, but instead, she opened it, burst into tears, and ran out the door. My heart sank. "Paige, wait!" I ran after her, but she was already peeling out of the driveway. I didn't understand why she was upset, because she'd spent months telling me about an oil painting class she went to every Wednesday, so I'd spent $300 on a professional easel and paints, hoping it would show her I paid attention. She wouldn't answer my calls, so after 3 hours, I checked her location and found her at her parents' house. I got in my car, done guessing what I'd done wrong. When I got there, her dad stepped onto the porch and pulled the door shut behind him. "Now's not a good time. Paige is upset." I crossed my arms. I deserved to know why my girlfriend just ran out crying on her own birthday. Her mom appeared next to him, pity on her face. "Let him inside. There's something he needs to hear." She led me to a bedroom door and pounded on it. "Paige, come out and tell him the truth, or I will." Paige stepped out. Mascara streaked down her face in dark lines. I grabbed her shoulders. "What's going on, babe? You can tell me anything." She wiped her face. "There was never any painting class." My stomach flipped. "Then where have you been going every Wednesday?" She looked at her mom, begging to be saved, but her mom shook her head. "Tell him." Paige took a deep breath. "I've been seeing a man from work. He's married with 2 kids, but he said he'd leave his wife for me." The room started spinning as I realized that every Wednesday I'd kissed her goodbye, thinking she was going to a painting class. She was actually driving to some hotel to cheat on me. "I spent $300 on something you made up so you could destroy another family." She looked offended. "I was going to tell you eventually, before or after he left his wife." She had to think about it. Her mom put her hand on my shoulder. "You deserve better than this." I nodded, walked to my car, and blocked her number before I even left the driveway. I gave my girlfriend. I found my son sobbing over a plate of food while my wife knelt
Wow.
beside him and whispered, "Take one more bite, baby." My son sobbed, "I don't want to eat anymore, Mommy." My son dropped the fork. Eat, everything's fine, Dad. But when I looked closer at him, I realized he'd gained a lot of weight that I hadn't noticed because of my cancer diagnosis, the one I hadn't told them about yet. Why was my wife forcing our son to be overweight? My wife smiled nervously. Anyway, I was thinking we should get eggs for breakfast tomorrow. I moved past her and pulled open the pantry. There were large containers of mass gainers sitting side by side, and a chart was taped inside the door written in my son's handwriting. I grabbed it and saw he was recording his weight gain week after week. My hands were shaking, and I turned around. "Somebody tell me what's going on right now." My wife opened her mouth to try and change the conversation topic again, but my son slammed his hands down. "No, Mom. Let's just tell him the truth." He turned to me with tears streaming down his face. "Dad, I know you have cancer." I felt the wall I'd been holding up for months just collapse. He looked down at the ground. "I heard you on the phone with the doctor. You need a bone marrow transplant." And I looked it up, and it said donors have to weigh at least 110 pounds, and I was only 80 pounds when I found out. He pushed the plate away. "So I've been eating every single day, even when it hurts." I sank into the chair beside him. I'd been hiding my cancer from my family because I didn't want it to hurt them, and they were hiding the solution because they didn't want to hurt me either. Tears filled my eyes because there was one more secret I had to tell them. Well, I guess this is a good time to tell you guys. I'm in remission. The chemotherapy was a success, so there's no need for transplants. I watched my son's face go from braced to excited, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. My wife pressed both hands over her mouth. My son wrapped his arms around my neck. "I knew we could do it, Dad." I found my son.
When you plug your phone up to charge it,
I was playing drums in a music class when the conductor raised his fist and yelled, "Cut!" His bald head turned toward me. He walked over with a frown before pushing me off my chair. He dragged my drum kit screeching to the center of the room and asked, "Were you rushing or were you dragging?" I opened my mouth and nothing came out, so he straightened up and announced to everyone, "Nobody leaves this room until the freshman finds his tempo." My hands went cold on my sticks because I'd practiced 2 years just to make his band, and one nod from him decided everything. I sat back down, grabbed my sticks and hammered out 4 bars, but his fist shot up and cut me dead. Rushing again. I wiped my palms on my jeans and started over, but his fist snapped up on my second hit. Dragging again. I mouthed the counts to myself and tried again, so he stormed over and screamed his own counts into my ear until spit hit my cheek. A trombone player groaned. "Not again. This happens every year." So he whipped around, ripped the trombone out of her hands, and laid it across my snare. "Every note she doesn't play is on you, freshman." My hands were shaking so hard my sticks rattled against the rims, but on the next count I stopped searching his face, put my head down, and just played. He slammed his hand flat on my crash cymbal and put his face an inch from mine. "Were you rushing or were you dragging?" My face heated up in an instant. I stood up, lifted my floor tongue, and slammed it down over his bald head. His head punched straight through with one loud bang, and he froze with the drum hanging around his neck like a collar. I sat back down, tapped a stick against my chin, and leaned toward him. "Were you rushing or were you dragging?" He called the cops and kicked me off the band, but it was worth it. I was playing drums and my daughter fell into the Mississippi River, but before I could even jump in to save her, a huge Newfoundland was already dragging her out. I immediately sprinted over as he hauled her onto the bank by her coat, and my hands were shaking as I held her, because that current was strong enough to pull grown men under, and my daughter was only